I took a slightly different tack to this question here in the Northwest, primarily because Seattle, which was one of the hardest and earliest hit areas and cities in the country, is now having a very vigorous discussion about reopening. Also, as was in the news today, a company has put forth an antidote, for lack of a better word, to coronavirus that appears to be actually working. And I was really curious in talking with my friends and colleagues up here about the transition, right? There's a very active discussion going on here. What will the company look like after this is done? What have we learned and what are we still learning going through that? So I was really interested in getting that particular perspective, right? And I think it's important. So, here's just a quick snapshot of what a few people just told me off the cuff during our conversations. Some were very common sense, right? While many of our competitors put their business on hold, we just stayed here and kept answering the phone. At some level, there were some people that grew through this simply through tenacity. Our belief is that we make our own weather. I heard so much about positive attitudes, the role that leadership is and will continue to play when this is finished. I love this third quote, and I think it's true of my business and probably most of people's businesses, which is this whole process has exposed a lot of our blind spots. And there's a variety of ways that those can be addressed, and I'll touch on a couple. But I think anybody who owns a business knows that there are things that they're really, really good at, and then they have this lengthy list of things that they know they should be working on. And for many people that I talk to, that list suddenly became front and center, like financing, Matt, or better, smarter investments in lead generation, digital platforms, virtual selling. This has made a lot of people aware that being perhaps overly transactional and slightly myopic really hurt them in lots of ways that they perhaps could have hedged against. Lots of dedication to office time and to employees, which I thought was great. Good, bad, or otherwise, I'm in the office. I didn't talk to a single owner who said they hadn't worked harder than they've ever worked to stay connected to their people, and that they were putting in more hours and spending more face time with their employees to keep that sense of unity, to keep the team galvanized. And again, that their feeling is that's going to pay real dividends when this is over. E-commerce was a hot topic, and obviously virtual anything right now is a hot topic. One person said, I went through a sales seminar 4 years ago. We were all talking about e-commerce. Probably everybody on this call was talking about e-commerce 4 years ago. And if you go back in time, it's not that long, but he said, at the time I heard what you said and I kind of chuckled a little bit like, nah, it's not me. It's not our industry. And now, we're all on a fast track to that. Lots of regrets, right? One person who did lay off a few people said, I will never put my business in this position again. And in fact, he was looking to make some pretty radical transitions. Learn to communicate value. Jennifer will like this one. The tech geeks in our office are suddenly the new heroes. Digital native employees have suddenly found explosive relevance, and the Northwest is a pretty tech-savvy place anyways. But I love the last quote, and this is the reason I left it for the last one. This has changed my company. It's changed my employees. There was, among the people I talked to, a generally pervasive sense that going through this brought the team closer together. And I know that Brigham has alluded to this in relationship to his team at Power Selling Pros. More than one contractor said this has actually altered the DNA. This has altered the way my company will forever function as long as we stick together. And he likened it to a gang. We went from being a kind of disassociated group of people to something that, we are now closer to a gang, battle buddies, right? We're in this together. Thinking through all this, the conclusion that I left with and what I would share with this group, none of our companies are going to look or feel or function the same when this is finished. And my conclusion was that if anybody on this call wants their business to get older, that we are going to have to get younger. In order for us to continue to grow, we're going to have to get younger in some really particular ways. My belief is that in the future, digital natives are going to be the new sales stars, people that understand how to communicate in both a push and pull format in an omni-channel manner are going to completely change the way businesses communicate with the world at large, their local markets. But also, and I've come to this realization too, is that broadcasting in a narrow manner is a tried and true solution, but unless we are learning to broadcast across major platforms on an ongoing basis, we're missing a huge opportunity to connect with people that want to find services in potentially non-traditional manners. Diversification. I had a long chat with a guy who, in order to prevent letting his employees go, went downtown, attended a commercial cleaning class, and is now becoming a certified commercial cleaning operation as well as an HVAC business, so that they can go fog hospitals and they can take care of test centers. And it was a pure, straight up survival move. But his realization was, I've built my whole business on AOR and that's it. But if the cheese moves slightly, then I'm suddenly hamstrung. Customer loyalty was a big topic. And, someone said to the effect, we've been very transactional. We're going to get back to the idea of building tribes. Not a new idea. That's a Seth Godin concept. It's 10 or 15 years old. But the idea that you've got voluntarily loyal customers as opposed to customers that you bought with marketing dollars are two different perspectives. Culture comes into play. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Not my quote, Peter Drucker, but obviously a lot of owners are focusing on, what are they putting into the emotional bank, so to speak, in their businesses. Fast decision-making, nimble and fast decision-making, as opposed to sit back and wait decision-making, I think is going to change a lot of managers and owners' strategies without being reckless, but getting ahead of a trend before it settles in and capitalizing on some early momentum. And then, lastly, constant innovation. I think anybody listening, and my panelists, my friends, all of us have, I think, probably realized at some point that innovation, constantly innovating, is no longer something that you do because you have to. You do it because it is a mandate. And unless you're constantly looking for ways to innovate your business to stay ahead of what's happening, you run the risk of putting yourself in a secondary or a tertiary position and then having to play catch up. So they were all great conversations. I'm excited to see what happens in the Northwest as we go through this. And I wish you all well. So thank you very much.